guys? Um, just Nick here, gonna bring you guys some content on the top 5 armies for Pariah Nexus teams. So, recording this on July 16th. We're about 2 weeks before WTC. The lists are gonna be going live for that, and we've got a very, we're a couple weeks into Pariah Nexus now. We just finished up ATC last weekend, and I wanted to bring you guys some information regarding what I guess from a captain perspective, or from a team's specific perspective, what armies are looking like the strongest, which ones need a little bit of help, and we're gonna see what you see. Might be a little bit surprising, but also we're looking at overall very balanced meta. So I do need to bring in and present my screen here. There we go. All right. All right. So this is a tier list. I am going to explain a little bit. You're going to see that how I ranked it here. I'm just going to explain the rankings. Top tier is going to be kind of like the highest level of power. I'm going to explain this from the perspective of five-man teams. Some of this is also going to be applicable to 8s. So if we look at the rankings here, top tier, highest power level, powerful is going to be just solid picks. You could expect to see them probably on any team. Average is going to be just the armies that are below the first 2 tiers. So average is obviously, the reason I call it average is because it's not bad armies at all. It's just that armies that maybe didn't receive buffs or nerfs. Maybe in some cases they stayed where they were at throughout the Pariah Nexus. So this is all obviously from the perspective of Pariah Nexus. And then specialist is going to be stuff that's, you could say that they're struggling. However, some of these armies are so specialized in what they do that you may need, in order to have good results, you may need to have a faction specialist player operating them. So it's not something you'll see often. And then struggling is, going to be your weakest tier armies that have obvious weaknesses, especially in the context of teams. All right, so jumping right into it. We've got all of our lists here. Imperial agents, I'm just going to leave them out. Tau, I'm actually going to say Tau is top tier. So without going into excruciating detail here, Tau have very low points values. If we look at, actually, I think I have the document right here. Tau have extremely high shooting damage right now. Let's see. Oh, there's an asterisk. There we go. So as you can see here, let me zoom in a little bit. Tau got a lot of points drops. Crisis suits have gone down and are actually pointed correctly now. Funny thing about this is, so Hammerhead went up. A lot of the critical data sheets here, such as the what are they called, breachers, the transport, the devilfish. A lot of these things are unchanged, and they're just pointed extremely well. Broadsides went down, so now you can run the efficiency. You can actually run 2 broadsides if you wanted to for 180, which is a pretty good value. The broadside special ability now, in this version of the game, you have it where the mortal wound protection works against dev wounds now. Dev wounds are now mortal wounds. That was a big change. Tower in a really good spot. You've got options. Although the Kroot detachment was nerfed in a few ways, you've got your Munka as well as your Kalyan detachments are just looking extremely strong. This is an army, obviously matchup dependent, but given that it's all shooting, it specializes in shooting. It's extremely good at killing Marines, and you're going to notice in this meta there's a lot of Marines, so I'm just going to put them in the S tier. So Necrons had some nerfs actually in this patch. However, they're in the average to powerful range. We could put them in there. Some of the nerfs were involving like the teleporting Catans, I think, was removed. However, Awakened Dynasty I think still works exactly the same, and it's very strong. Hypercrypt still has the teleports, so there's a lot of Necrons still have a lot going for them. They have a lot of options, and they have a lot of very good depth, good codex and depth of rules as well. Same with Eldar. Eldar, I'm going to put straight into powerful. Even with the points nerfs, Eldar finally received like more points nerfs in this patch, so they've been nerfed. They've just been nerfed over and over again. Their points have gone up. Their rules are extremely good. They're really fast, and a reason why I'm actually, let me skip ahead and put Drukhari in here too. Drukhari as well as Eldari, straight into powerful. Drukhari especially are powerful. The real space, what's it called? The Sky Splinter detachment. You can have so much stuff. You have the amount of speed you have on the table is extremely hard to deal with for most armies. Drukhari can murder a lot of Space Marines very quickly. You've still got your Scourges, your Venoms, your Raiders, Incubi, Mandrakes, like the list goes on. You just got a list just packed full of stuff. So Drukhari are really strong for a lot of the same reasons that Tower is strong. It's a fast army. You got lots of flexibility. You're able to do secondaries extremely well. And something that's happened now in Pariah Nexus is they've lowered the amount of secondary you score. So like the average score per card has gone down. You have a couple more cards in the deck, and now you have a different split. Something that we've been calling I call it like a 5, 6, 7 split in how the cards score. In general, what this means is like before in Leviathan, if you were dominating a game, you might find it easy to score 40 secondary. In Pariah Nexus, maybe a score of 30 is more common. So they've really lowered how much you score, how much is easy to score, and there's more of a reliance on actions, meaning that these cheap units, cheap and fast units, teleporting units, especially like Eldar has access to, are going to make it very, very competitive for scoring secondaries and keeping a differential in teams. So in teams, you'll hear me talk about differential a lot, because you have to be able to really go toe to toe and push your advantage in teams. So orcs, unfortunately, have been multi-nerfed. I think I can put them squarely in average here. They are not doing so good in comparison to other armies. They still have a good depth of rules, especially something that would be explored more in singles. In teams, however, they are going to be a little on the lackluster side. Looking at some of the Marine choices here, so Marines is something I want to focus on a lot. We're looking at Templars and Dark Angels. I think these can go squarely into powerful. Templars, Dark Angels. What these armies are doing is you've got a huge depth of options. Dark Angels, you've got Gladius, you've got Inner Circle, and then Black Templars, you've got your Gladius, Righteous Crusaders. So the Iron Storm has basically been taken out. I don't think Iron Storm is really going to be played at all in teams anymore. It's Iron Storm was multi-nerf. The auras were changed, and then some of the vehicles were changed, especially for Templars, where Templars are no longer able to take the non-Templars version of the Primaris vehicles, which is so it's been taxed, and then the points have increased, and then it's been kind of like taxed again. So the Iron Storm versions of these are gone, but these are melee specialist Marines, and you're getting like your Azrael, you're getting your Helbrecht, your Emperor's Champion. You've got some of the best combat characters in the game. Hey guys, we're back. I was having a mic issue there, but so we were discussing Black Templars, Dark Angels, as well as Space Wolves can all put squarely into powerful, because different detachments, different melee options are very, very strong right now. Regular Space Marines, so this would be kind of like your Ultramarines, Imperial Fists, Salamanders, stuff like that, just have a lot less data sheet options. So I put them at full tier below these ones. Imperial Knights received a lot of buffs in this patch. So some of the buffs they've got, Canis Rex is as strong as ever, extremely strong. He can now use any stratagem in the whole game with the -1 now, so extremely good. He's only 435, which is pretty low point cost. Knights themselves now can walk over 4 inches of terrain, so like on a GW style layout, they can basically just walk through terrain as long as it's 4 inches or less, which is very, very strong. Additionally, they still have the Feel No Pain, and they now gain an ability where they can action and shoot. So shooting, in addition to doing your cleanse or your deploy homers and so on. I'm going to put Knights, I think, actually into powerful. They are a little bit kind of maligned in teams, but a really good Knight player, you can set them up into good matchups, and Knights have really a lot of damage, a lot of durability. They just have a lot to deliver right now. They've gotten a lot of steam. Same thing with Custodes. Custodes, the Shield Host in particular, received a lot of buffs, and then you got your points drops happen on your Venatari. Your Wardens and Blade Champions and so on are still just as strong as ever, and then Venatari went down significantly. Shield Host gains especially the benefit of they improved the detachment ability, like the Custodes Wa got stronger, and then the defensive ability increased. So same as what I mentioned earlier with the broadsides ability. The dev wounds are now mortal wounds, which means that the shield host defensive ability now works against dev wounds, and that's really what Custodes need to be viable. And Custodes especially are good into. The reason I'm putting these into powerful is that in general, these like strong Custodes lists will pair favorably into a lot of stuff that ends up in average here. So like Custodes are very good in the orcs, for example. Custodes will murder a lot of more general space marine lists, not all of them, but some of the maybe like your ultramarines and so on. Votan, you've got your Hernkin, or what are they called, Jaegers. The Jaeger infiltrating 10-man unit is only 80 points. That's out now, so it's hard to find the models. I think I can put these guys into the average tier. They are on the stronger side of average, though, I would say. Definitely got some good ranged options, good durability, good damage. Definitely a well-rounded army to play. Maybe like a little bit hamstring on their data sheet options, but still strong. Death Guard as well, going into average. Death Guard didn't really get any improvements at all in this patch, but they are still doing the same thing that they were doing in Leviathan. Unfortunately, Death Guard is going to struggle a little bit with the secondary game. They're lacking a lot of maybe fast units, and their Death Guard are overly reliant on Nurglings to do actions and get around the table, like get into the corners of the table. And Nurglings, being OC0, can no longer perform actions in Pariah Nexus. So unfortunately, Death Guard is trending down a little bit, but still a decent pick, just not as good. Another reason why Death Guard might not be so good right now is the Orc Menace has kind of been double nerfed, triple nerfed. In some cases, the Mega Knobs are mostly gone, are actually completely gone, and the Death Guard counter, therefore is going to be less useful as it was when Orcs were, number one. Another one here is Tyranids. So Tyranids are looking really good. We can put these in powerful here, like where Eldar is. Tyranids, I'm going to pull up the document here again. I think we saw some points adjustments, and Vanguard was improved. So very, very few points adjustments here. The Neurolictor has gone up, Biovore has gone down, Turvagon has gone down. So it wasn't the points that changed. Vanguard did have some improvements though. I'm trying to think exactly where that was. I'm not going to pull it up on the screen here because I believe it's in the other document. But Tyranids Vanguard and Tyranids Crusher definitely got some improvements, and I think we're going to see more Tyranids here. Unfortunately, the Spore Mines were nerfed, but Gargoyles are obviously still on the table. We saw what was it? The Zoanthropes. The Zoanthropes have an interaction now where they can shoot. They can like shoot into combat, and so that's something that's going on with them. Thousand Suns. So so Thousand Suns saw as well some. Actually, I'll pull up the documents as I was just talking about it. It's the balanced data slate itself. There was some adjustments in here for Tyranids as well as Thousand Suns. So if we look at some of these things here, so AdMech, let's see. Yeah, I'm looking for the Chaos Demons. We got the Orc nerfs in here. Here we go. So here was the Tyranid stuff we were talking about. So I just wanted to cover this in particular because I haven't looked at it too much. Crusher Stampede. So you get Crusher Stampede gives additional. It gives the original benefit, which is +1 to hit roll if it's for being below starting strength, +1 to wound roll if below half strength. And then in addition, if you're at your starting strength, you have +2. Tyranid monsters are +2 OC, which is very, very, very nice. Because you can, Tyranid monsters are cheap enough where you can really, we've already seen the list. We have 9 or 10 monsters. You got your, your Exocrine, your Maliceptor. In addition, the Exocrine went up a strength. So the Exocrine is now strength 9, which means it can shoot tanks. The breakpoint in strength between 8 and 9 is huge. It really matters a lot, in my opinion. And now they can actually kill like trucks and rhinos and so on, all these T9 vehicles that are out there, even Falcons, Wave Serpents, and so on. There's lots of targets. So yeah, Exocrine, you can see right here, the Exocrine has gone up to strength 9. Huge. Exocrine is very, very good. It looks like, I think the damage was improved on the Tyrannifex Rupture Cannon, which I think went down to 175, so maybe the Tyrannifex might see a little bit more play. So you've got really good changes here. It looks like Synapse was added. Vanguard Invader keyword was added to Moloch's Raveners and Trigons. Raveners, I believe, gaining that keyword gives them a whole bag of tricks in the Vanguard detachment. The Vanguard, there's a specific detachment called Vanguard for Tyranids, which definitely can get looked at now. It has lots of good stuff going on. And then the Synapse rule has changed a little bit to add additional strength. So I think that's maybe another buff to Raveners, or at least Tyranid warriors. There's a lot going on here with Tyranids, and I think they've really opened up the playing field for Tyranids. So definitely a good time for that army. So continuing with Thousand Suns, if we looking at some of the balanced data slate changes here, T-Suns actually got nerfs. Like if you look at this, on paper this is all nerfs. So the tendrils, the binding tendrils on the Exalted Sorcerer, the Exalted Disc Sorcerer, aka the sticky glue, this has been changed to not half anymore. Now it's just a -2, which is more similar to other abilities in the game. Temporal Surge has been changed, so you can't double Temporal Surge anymore, which is fine. Doombolt has been changed, so it no longer works on lone operatives, which is, it's obviously a nerf, but not everyone plays lone operatives. And then Twist of Fate has been majorly nerfed. It used to remove armor saves from one enemy model. Now it's just when attacking that enemy model. So some of these changes to Thousand Suns here, these seem like nerfs, and they're more so. A lot of them are more so rules clarifications. So some of them are nerfs. So like Twist of Fate is, instead of being AP5, it's now AP2, which is obviously a nerf. And then the Doombolt no longer works against lone operatives, which is a nerf provided your opponent actually has lone operatives. And then the double temporal surge is no longer allowed. And then the binding tendrils, aka the sticky glue, is just a -2 now. It's not half. It's not half everything. The funny thing is Thousand Suns are still extremely strong, and I can put them into the powerful tier. They're very, very strong. They're just as good as any of these other Marines here, like your Dark Angels, Space Wolves, and so on. They shoot extremely hard. So their points were not increased. If anything, they were decreased because of the Mutalisk Beast, and their damage output itself, aside from that one ritual, the Twist of Fate, was not changed. So they still do just as much damage. Their points are still there. The army still looks the same. Very, very strong, powerful army. Actually functions well as a defender. Have played T-Suns a lot in teams. Functions as a defender and can also just do huge damage. So that's always a good combination to have. Guard got some improvements in here. I'm gonna actually put these into average. However, Guard can be very strong in teams potentially. It kind of has a little bit of that Tau effect going on. But unfortunately the speed doesn't have the speed that Tau has, and the damage can be a little bit more swingy, and then they don't have the breacher bombs with the transports, unfortunately. What they do have though is Bulgrins and Lehman Russ. So Guard, depending on who's playing it in the matchup, Guard can definitely hang with these powerful armies, as well as put a good fight in all the average armies. Grey Knights. Grey Knights I'm gonna put into the powerful here. Grey Knights are great. They operate in every phase. They teleport around the table. They're very, very fast, and they're great in teams. They load a lot of damage in the shooting phase. They have abilities that deal mortal wounds from their psychic abilities, and then the entire army is good at fighting as well. They all have power weapons, at least AP2. They have a lot of AP2 and higher across the whole army. Very high damage output, great at killing other Marines, just great at scrumming and fighting in general. They have access to sticky objectives, and then they're really good. They have a great play for doing secret missions, which closes the differential in scoring. And then they have great play for doing a 3-inch deep strike for stealing objectives. So very, very tricky and cagey army to play, but definitely in the powerful tier up here with their expansive options, gameplay options. World Leaders, I'm gonna lean more towards average for World Leaders. They are very, very strong, super fast, hard hitting combat army, and I think they're going to be advantaged a little bit against orcs right now, but World Leaders, they are very difficult to play, and they do have lots of rough matchups. So definitely a strong and fun army to play, but you probably have to be a little bit careful. They're a little bit of a stepchild when it comes to the pairings, because of how terrain dependent they can be. Given that you're a combat only army, you're falling a lot into the same paradigm as orcs, where you're very, very terrain dependent, and then you can also see some horrendously bad matchups against armies where you can't close the gap, and then you get shot over and over again, and you lose too many resources. CSM, actually, CSM fall into this category as well. CSM have positives and negatives. They have a lot of flexibility from different detachments. They have decent shooting options, and they have decent melee options. So notice how I said decent. Unfortunately, CSM don't really have anything that's over the top strong. Chosen are still very good. Warp Talons still hit very hard, but unfortunately, the points changes in Pariah Nexus have not been very kind to the CSM. CSM is a good army. They're not a great army. They're not going to stand up very well to Space Wolves. They're not going to combat the Thousand Suns and Dark Angels and Templars as well as they did in the past. They might need a little bit of help, but are still have lots of options. They still have cultists. Some of the strong data sheets you might see in CSM are Accursed Cultist, just a regular cultist mob, Dark Commune buffs up the Accursed Cultist squad and it gets pretty scary. Got access to Blood Surge. Warp Talons can teleport off the table, and then you've got Demon Engines that get very scary in TSM as well. So vehicles like Lord of Skulls, Venom Crawler, Forge Fiend. The Forge Fiend with the plasma cannons, it's seen across Chaos Armies. It's actually pretty good in all of the Chaos Armies, and it hits the hardest in TSM. So the Forge Fiend is still scary. Watch out for that if you see that. So looking at some of the armies that are struggling here, I would say AdMech are definitely struggling. They're falling more, I would say, into Specialist. The reason it falls into Specialist is because AdMech is probably the most expensive army. So you would play from a team's perspective, or maybe a singles perspective, you would play usually Skitarii Vanguard, which is just tons of models. It's 100 plus models, and it's got a lot. It's the financial aspect that goes into purchasing it is not much of a payoff for what you actually get, because you're gonna be pushing a lot of models, and you're gonna be standing on a lot of objectives, and then a lot of the gameplay components of it might not be very fun for the money that you spend. So the ROI is not great. But if you do have that dedicated AdMech player who is loaded, then you might find that they're a good specialist. Deathwatch as well. So Deathwatch are kind of like the alien hunters. This is a weird time to talk about them because I play this army, but we think that they're going away. They might be getting a codex here very shortly because they've taken some of the Deathwatch stuff off of the web store. Deathwatch are actually really good right now. They got some points drops and some changes. They've got the not inner circle, the Black Spear task force. They can run Vanguard as well. They can run Vanguard. They can run all the space. So they get all the Space Marine data sheets, and then they add in like the Watchmaster and the kill teams. The kill teams are honestly all really bad, but the Deathwatch veterans are good because you get your heavy thunderhammers and your frag cannons. The big thing that Deathwatch do that you got to watch out for is they teleport around. So they can teleport in their kill teams, they can teleport in eradicators, and they can definitely teleport in like a battle line. So they're cagey. They're playing a little bit of that Grey Knights game. But instead of with the Grey Knights data sheets, they're doing it with just regular Space Marine data sheets. So think of it like it's like Space Marines Plus, but they are challenging the play, and they're going to try to set up a very specific sort of win condition. Chaos Knights, I'm going to say Chaos Knights are honestly struggling right now. Unfortunately, they don't really have the shooting output that you see from Imperial Knights. They don't have Canis Rex, which what they really need is Canis Rex. So they don't have that. Unfortunately, they don't have anything that's even close to as good as Canis Rex. But they still are following kind of like the same rules paradigm. And one of their big rules was the Kool-Aid Man, where they could walk through the wall. Well, they've just given the big knights, auto walk through the wall, and unfortunately, the big knights in Chaos Knights are not as good as the big knights in Imperial Knights, meaning that they got virtually no relevant changes in this patch and weren't that good in the previous patch. So they're just kind of more, in a lot of ways, they're more of the same. Probably not in a good spot. Wouldn't really recommend them right now. So Demon. So we're moving on to the final four here. Blood Angels. Blood Angels are easily top tier. I'm going to put them straight into the top tier. They're extremely strong. Sons of Sanguinius is crazy. You can get strength 10 power fists. You got Death Company, Vanguard vets, jump vets, ball predators. There's all these really strong. You've got basically a best of the best. You can play. So you've really got a lot of options there for. Oopsies. You've got a lot of options there for just showing up instantly, getting into close combat. Jump packs all move 12. Sons of Sanguinius, the army rule is +2 strength, +1 attack on the charge. The reason why this is so strong is it's marine, so you've got all the flexibility, durability of all these other marine factions down here, just basically all of them, and then you got some of the most hard-hitting. Death Company are just an insane data sheet. Power Fists, Inferno Pistols. Ball Predator has like an 18-inch flamethrower, kind of like a Land Raider Redeemer sort of flamethrower, which is wild. And then you've got your Sanguinor. Sanguinor is like a fight first character that just shows up, teleports into combat. Really insanely strong stuff. Definitely close combat specialist. And then you got the big premise here is you got a lot of infantry that are punching at strength 6 is like your cheapest infantry. Strength 7 is like your medium, maybe like medium level up. And then on the charge, you have your Death Company with Power Fists that are punching at strength 10, strength 10 is killing pretty much anything in the game. You've got access to lethal. You've got full reroll hits on that unit all the time. You've got AP4 Inferno Pistols across the whole unit, multiple units. And then the stratagems especially for Sons of Sanguinius, are insanely good. Fight on death, 6-inch consolidate, fall back and charge. You just got a plethora. You got all the good combat all in one army. Definitely top tier. The final top tier I'll say here is Sisters of Battle, Sororitas. Definitely top tier. Very, very good codex. They've only got 4 detachments to choose from, but you got your Bringers of the Flame. You got like Army of Faith in there as well. The data sheets are improved. This is more of an elite army now. The points cost did go up on Sisters, but so did the damage. Retributors, I think, were buffed. The vehicles, I think, are a little bit better now. So you've really just got a lot of hurt coming out of this army. A lot of units, a lot of flexibility, durability. The fate, and that's another big thing. The fate dice mechanic is unchanged for this army. It still works the same way. If anything, you have access to more fate dice now. So more damage, more elite units, better units. Morven Ball was insane before and got improved. So Morven Ball is going to be probably in every single list. The Triumph of St. Catherine was improved. All the characters were improved. I think Celestine was probably improved as well. And the jump characters, new abilities were added, more damage was added. Sisters is in a great spot. Phenomenally good army. Demons saw some improvements, especially for the greater demons, where they're always in the shadow now, so they create a shadow aura. I think for demons, I'm gonna lean more towards average. Demons have a 3-inch deep strike and they have lots of tricks, but unfortunately their ranged output is really terrible, especially compared to a lot of these other armies. Imperial Knights, Thousand Suns, Tyranids, Eldar, Drukhari. Chaos Demons still has the issue where they have inferior ranged output, and although they are extremely durable and greater demons are hard to remove in many cases, demons have trouble pushing a differential. So although they are very stat checky, just being durable is not enough to be a dominant team's army. And then last one is Genestealer cults. I have not played against the new Genestealer cults yet, but based on what I've seen online and the reading that I've done, I think they are struggling. I know that it is possible to obtain good results with this army in teams, but they would be they would definitely fall into specialist or struggling. I don't think Genestealer, for the archetype that Genestealer cults wants to play, which is a horde. I know that a lot of their abilities from the earlier edition have all been changed or nerfed. They operate in a different fashion now. I know that they have an army with all bikes, which is basically all motorcycles and ATVs. I think that's a great army. I don't know how competitive it is yet, because it just came out about 6 weeks ago or so. But GSC probably are going to get some improvements and changes here in the future. So right now I'm just going to kind of leave them in that tier. So this is our final chart here. So you can see we've got a very, very balanced spread. I'm gonna rank rank Dark Angels up here. This is pretty much how I would rank it. So I'm not necessarily saying Tau is the top army, but I'm thinking these are going to give you these are fast, aggressive, big damage. The reason these are top tier is because of the damage, huge damage output. And then same thing here with movement flexibility, durability, movement. You know, similar concepts here. You know, Wolf Jail, super durable, super fast. Same thing, Thousand Suns, shoot super hard, very fast, slippery army. Same thing, Grey Knights. This is getting it, and then Custodes and Knights here are getting more. This is more of a durability skew, but also damage. So you have damage and durability together, which is always a good combination. And then, like recapping, going into the average tier here, the damage is maybe a little bit, for these armies, maybe the damage is a little bit lackluster. It pales a little bit to what we have above. And then overall, maybe some of the army rules have been, you know, nerfed a little bit, adjusted a little bit. Maybe some of the rules aren't as strong, or the points are not as good as they have been in the past. And then the armies here that probably need some help or some more adjustments. Admech, Deathwatch is kind of in limbo right now, and then Chaos Knights, unfortunately, probably need a codex, and then GSC are going to need some improvements in the future. And that pretty much wraps it up. And have a good night, everybody.